Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. What language would you like to use?
I would like to use Java, so I will toggle this to Java.
Great. Cool. Are you familiar with regular expressions?
I'm familiar with what they are, and yeah, I do know what they are.
Okay. Well, this question is about matching a simple subset of regular expressions, so nothing too complicated. Write a method that takes two strings as arguments, S a string to match against, and P a pattern, and returns a Boolean denoting whether S matches P. P can be any number of the following: a lowercase letter, which just stands for itself, the dot character, which stands for any character, it's a wildcard, or the star, which must follow another single character and stands for 0 or more occurrences of that character. So star can never be the first character in a pattern, and it only applies to the one character before it. And you can assume that the pattern is well formed so that it only includes these things and that the star is used properly and that it's not the empty string. So here are some examples, and I'll go over them.
Cool.
In the first example, the pattern is AB, so that would only match the string AB, so this would be false. In the second example, the pattern is A star, and the string only contains A's, so that does match. In this example, the pattern dot star matches any string, so this returns true. In this example, the pattern is dot, which matches exactly one character that can be any character. So since S has two characters, this returns false. Here, the pattern is any number of C's followed by any number of A's followed by a single B. And S has 0 C's, some number of A's, and a B, so that's true. And finally, the pattern here is A star followed by dot, so any number of A's followed by any one character. And S has AA, which matches A star, and then A, which matches dot. So that's true. A couple tips. So don't worry about the performance of your code at first. Just, try to get something that works. And even if it's naive, we'll work on improving it after you have something that runs and is correct. Try to think out loud as much as possible rather than just writing code, say what you're thinking. And it's easy to start out doing that and then kind of slip back into thinking about the problem. So just try to watch yourself for that. People usually do better if they try to write out their algorithm as pseudocode or in English in a comment before they try to write code. So that separates the problem-solving part from the part about trying to translate that into code. And finally, sorry, one more thing. Try to, if you want to, think of more test cases to use. And it also helps to, when you have the pseudocode written, to sort of step through some examples just mentally and see if your algorithm works.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Some great tips. So I'll try my best to think out loud as I start coding. So I'm just going to declare function header, regex, which takes in the easy part, the 2 parameters. So right off the bat, I'm thinking of iterating through each character of P, and then basically within that, I'll have a bunch of if statements to check characters in P for either 1, 2, or 3. So And then I'm trying to think if the structure should be a double nested for loop. Actually, maybe I should be iterating through each character in S, and then yeah, I'm trying to think if I should iterate through S or iterate through P. I guess it doesn't matter as long as I am careful about stepping out of bounds, because the length of S and P are not necessarily the same. So basically, like if we go through the first case ABA, S is greater length than P. So then index I would look at the character A, and then so there's a match initially. So we go to the second character B, and that matches, and then I go to the third character, and then P, since we're at index location 2 is greater than the length of P minus 1, I guess. We know there's no match. Basically, A is matching to an empty character, so essentially that's a false. So I think that's okay. And then let me just, in the case, second example, A star, it's luckily the same length, so there should be no issue there. I guess I can talk through, so index 0, A and A match, so that's good. And then index 1, A, so here would be the first if statement, right? If piece of I equals a star, then it's automatically true. Right? Wait, so let me think about this. So star is actually 0 or more occurrences of that character. So
right.
I'm trying to think if there's a clever way. So if it's an AB, if it was an AB, that would also be true. If it's just A, then wait, so sorry, I'm just going. So which must follow another single character and stands for 0 or more occurrences of that character. So, okay, so the star is always on the right side of the A.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess so that means that every time I'm looking at P, I want to check the following character. So I need to be careful about checking the following character and making sure that following character is not the end of the index, end of the string.
Right.
Yeah. So so every single time I have to check I and I plus 1 of P. So if I do that and the following character is a star, then basically I guess there will be some sort of loop. I have to advance the position of S 0 or X number of times. Yeah, maybe I should just start writing. Otherwise, I'm just talking and rambling.
Sure.
So int I. Thanks. Char at I. So let's just do the first case. If A equals B, continue. Oh yeah, I guess the regex should be returning a Boolean. And my ultimate plan is to return true if it goes through the for loop without returning false in the inner body of the loop. So if A equals B, just continue it. Yeah, let's deal with the star case. Oops, there's a mistake here. It should be a P. Else, yes, there else is not really necessary. If P, let me just do like next P or something. P dot char at I plus 1. I should probably check here if I is n. Maybe I do need to, yeah, I think I was trying to just use one index, but I feel like we definitely need 2 indexes. So so let me just consider advancing I. Oh, wait, so I need to check for, so basically keep checking for the letter B until we see another character, basically. I mean, this doesn't account for the fact that the first character is not it. So while A is not equal to B, while A equals B, keep advancing I. So then if A is nothing, as in the case, let's say we had where should I write an example? Like if we had S equals BB A, P equals should I say star C star. This is true, correct? It's not true, but
No, so that wouldn't be true. So the P,
okay.
I'm getting a little echo from you.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. So, yeah, so in this case, P would only match strings that are only made up of C's.
Oh, so I guess I was boggled. My mind was stuck on the fact that it's 0 or more occurrences of that character. So then
Right,
this,
so it would match the empty string, so like 0 C's, the empty string, or 1 C or 2 C's, etc. So it would only match things that are only made up of C's. Does that make sense?
okay, so empty string is okay. So this would be true if S was empty, right?
Yeah, that would be true.
That would be true, but then, okay, so let me just, back up a little bit. Would this be true? It would, right?
Yeah, that would be true since it's 0 C's followed by 1 B.
Okay. So yeah, I was just trying to be careful with the case where there's 0 C's. So yeah, I should just go through it. So in the first case, yeah, my variable naming should probably be better. I'll just do S of I and then P of I. That's probably better. So in my example, S of I is B, and then P of I is C, and so J plus 1 is looking at the star. So I mean, my next P is basically star, and then I go into the while loop. Is B equals C? It's not. So I just automatically break out of the for loop, which is what I'm looking for. But if, let's say, I have B like that, then A would be equal to, okay, I just renamed it. SI would be equal P sub I, and then I would just keep iterating. Oh no, but then if this, wait, what? I messed up the input. Crap. So then, right. So then B would, basically I would increment till position 0, 1, 2, 3. So it will be on the C at this point. Yeah, I think this is good. I probably don't want the I++ in the for loop anymore. Okay, so let me continue. Okay, so what's the dot syntax? So the dot is more straightforward, I believe. It's just simply looking at the current element. If P of I equals the dot, then it matches any character, right? It says which stands for any character. So
right.
I believe it's just continue, right? I feel like I'd be a little too straightforward, but let me just go with that for now. So if it's any character, we just continue. Well, I got rid of the I++, so I'm just gonna probably have to add we advance both. So let's just go through the example, lines 69. The first character, A, so S of I is A, and then P sub I is a dot. So they're not the same. So I go to the line 31. J plus 1 is, I do go into the next P, which is a star. Oh, okay. So so just give me a sec. So it is
Sure.
a star. I do go into it, and then so my S of I is A, and P sub I is a dot. So great. So here I just do or S of I. Wait, let me think. If my S of I is A, and then if P sub I equals dot. Let me think a little bit about. So dot just means that I can match any character. So I do want to advance. I just advance. Do I want to keep advancing? No, I don't want to keep advancing though. Right? Wait. No, I do want to keep advancing. What am I saying? Basically, this could. Oh, I shouldn't change the original. Let me just add a new test case. This was like X, Y, Z. You know, A, B, C, P equals dot star. Then what is this saying? This is saying that any characters 0 or more of dot, which is 0 more of any character, right? So then here, even though S on line 36, S of I is never going to match P. Yeah, I think this is right. So I'll just keep advancing I until the very end. But wait, now I'm thinking if I might advance too far. Wait, but if it's dot star, it's always true, right? Yeah, that's kind of, unless there's more stuff going on. So what if I have like dot star BC? It goes all the way to the end of S. But I'll have more characters in P to process. Oh. Wait, what if this was YY? Okay. Yeah, so I probably want to I probably don't want the for condition to be the end of the string of S. Should be J, along the lines of while J is less than P dot length, to avoid the situation where that I just iterate through the entirety of S and then I just break out of the for loop, even though I haven't seen YY in P yet. So I'll come back to that part just to double check. But I think this is good for dot. So now I have to deal with the case where there's only one dot. If P sub I is... Did I make a mistake on line 40? No, I didn't. Okay, so I did. It just escaped my head. So yeah, I did take care of line 40 to 43 for the base case where there's only one character. So I want to increment J here. Is that all? Okay, let me go through each example then.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna copy the examples so I don't have to keep scrolling. Let's go through your examples because your examples are probably better. So AB, let's do this simple ABA. So I'm at A equals A, so I continue. Oh, yeah, great, good. Oh, I do want to increment both I and J here. Oh. But wait, no, I don't want to. I do want to do the check first. Yeah, so I think the placement of of checking for characters is too early, because I always want to check for the star, right? So else, then just do a straightforward. I notice I could probably, there's a bit of redundant. This does, let me organize real quick. So else
Sure.
if, yeah, else if s of I equals piece of I, or if s of or piece of I equals any character, increment both of them and continue. Okay, so I guess the subtle thing is if it's a star, I don't want to do J++ because I would just hit the star. So I want to do J plus equals 2, I believe. Okay. I keep getting, but so I noticed that all of my logic is within that if J plus 1 less than P equals length check. So probably if once we're on the last character of P, it does nothing, which is not correct. But let me just go through the line 53 example. So
Sure.
one more time. So next P in this case is B, which is not. So I go through the else if case in line 38, and so A equals A. So then I increment both J and I, and I continue. In fact, to continue is redundant now. I go back, so B equals B, similar thing, and now, so now J is greater. So I break out of the for loop, but I still haven't processed A yet. Is there an elegant way I can do this? So int I. So I'm considering this case where now I is at position 2, J is at 2, so we're out of the for loop. But I still want to. Okay, so I believe it's a matter of checking if we're not at the end of the string. If I is less than, so okay, so where am I? I is at position 2, 0, 1. Then that's length. Return false. Okay, let me double check. So AB finishes, then J is 2, which is greater. 2 is not less than 2, so it breaks out of the for loop. And then I is not less than 3. Well, 2 is less than 3, so it should return false. But let's say my P was ABA, then I would be 3. So we're good. Then we return true. Okay, I think that's okay.
Sorry, I don't quite get what that line 47 is doing. So you're saying if If I, which is counting position in S,
yes.
if your index within S is less than the length of S, you return false?
Yeah, so basically I'm trying to account for the fact that there are still remaining characters of S that have not yet to be seen because we already processed.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I misread this. You're outside of the loop. So yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought this was inside the loop. Okay.
Yeah, I imagine it's really hard to follow me because I'm kind of talking as I'm coding, but the gist of what I'm trying to do is there's remaining characters of S that we haven't seen, but we already went to the end of P, right? And then so automatically that should be false because we're saying that the P is we're saying that we reached the end of P, but we haven't. Yeah, I want to be careful what I say, but basically that's my rationale.
Yeah, you've reached the end of the pattern, but you haven't consumed all the characters in the string.
Right. So yeah, effectively that's like equivalent of saying X equals whatever, and then P equals the empty string, right? I mean, it's equivalent to, and then this is false. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's good. So let's finally go to the second example. So S equals A, P equals A star. So straightforward. The first A we go through, should be no problem. And then the second character, well, this is the part we have to, because I equals 1. Basically, I won't go in the second iteration of the for loop because of my check. I won't go inside. So I should just treat it as, I wish maybe I should write a helper function because I don't want to duplicate all the code from line 34 to.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a good idea.
Or actually line 40, basically. Although, come to think of it, it's not that much code. So I'm going back on my word again. Probably, yeah, basically because my line 31 check is is anticipating the possibility that there's a star, right? But line 45 to line 40, line 45 to line 48 is when we know. I should just write comments. Is like we know we're at just J equals P dot length. Being tripped up with the indices. J plus 1, J plus 1. At the end of P. Okay, one more time. Line 64 example. I equals 1, J equals 1. So J plus 1 is 2, which is not less than 2. So then we go to else if. So is A equal to star? No. Wait. Okay. What am I apologize. So we do. Yeah. Let me back up. I assumed the second character was not a star. So line 64. I equals 0. J equals 0. A equals A. I skipped a step one more time. So we do go to line 31, and J plus 1 equals 1, which is less than 2. So we go into line 32, next P, which is a star. So we go to line 35 or line 36 while A equals A, while S of I equals P of I, which is the case. I increment I, so I is at 1 now. And then I do J, and then so A is, wait, what? So A equals A. I increment I. And A is still equal to A, so I increment I again. So I is now at 2, and then J plus equals 2, which is, so now I is 2 and J is also 2. So then we break out the for loop, and I, which is 2, is not less than 2. So that line 52 evaluates to false. So then we go to line 54 and return true. Whew. Okay, I think that works.
Okay.
Go to the next example, which is just simply dot star.
I don't want you to run out of time, so maybe skip to the last example, line 72. Okay. I think that would be what you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, so last example is A star. So first iteration, A equals A, no problem there. Oh, wait, what am I saying? So next P equals star, yes. And then I iterate I all the way to, so 0, I equals 0, and then basically the while loop runs until, and there's like a gaping problem, which is that I'm not updating S of I. That is my bad.
Oh, yeah.
That is bad. Oh, no. So I want to be careful index outbound. So that's while I is less than S dot length. But what if it's great? What if we are past it? Then we want to we might run into index outbound here. If I greater than equal to S dot length, I want to break out of the loop. I'm trying to think of a situation where I reach toward the end of S, but there's still more patterns. So like, let me just duplicate the last example, AAA, but then P star dot. So that should return. Wait, is dot is any character? Okay. So
yeah.
So that's fine. So I reach towards the end of S, but what if P still had more characters like a B? Then this should be false, because we're saying that we want any 0 or more A's followed by 1 B. So then P also needs to be checked for length, I believe, in a similar fashion as line 56, I believe, is the rationale. So not only does I has to be less than S dot length, J also has to be smaller than p dot length. So in the line, let me go through the base example 101
Okay.
time because I keep jumping back and forth, realizing mistakes. Basically, I iterate through the end of s, and my while loop, the first condition, I less than s dot length, evaluates to false. So then we break out a for loop. I go to line 40. I is equal to s dot length, so we break, but then p is still stuck at, well, not p. I think I want to do the j plus equals 2 before the break. Is that true? So can you explain why line 101 is true?
Sure. So 101. Okay, sure. So we look at the first character A, and that matches A star. So we go on, but we're still sort of in the matching A star state. And then we look at the next character A, so that's fine, also A star. And then the last character A matches dot, so that's also a match. And now we've used up all of S and all of P. Now you might notice, if you're paying attention carefully, I sort of omitted the detail of, well, how do I decide when I stop matching A star? Because if I was not being careful, I could say, well, I'm just going to, as long as there's an A, I'm going to keep marching through S, and then I'd be at the end of S, but I would still have this one dot left.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can account for that.
I can, yeah. So right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of just simply checking if that last character is a dot. If it is, then we're good, because we're saying that I have to be careful here. Because in this example, so given my current code, I would blast through all of the A's, and then so my index stat tracking S will blast through the end, and then P will also blast through the, well not blast through, but P will be pointing at the dot, and then because my current check is just J less than P dot length, that'll actually evaluate to true. So then I'll return false. So I was thinking on line 56, if I can simply just add J piece of J, oh no, piece of J and piece of J is not equal to dot, return false. So basically I'm saying or actually that's a little, I think I need to do or piece of J, or J is, no, wait. Yeah, I don't think I can do that, because I'm thinking, assuming that the last character is a dot, but then there could be more characters, right? There could be like dot, A, B, C, X, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not, so now I'm trying to think if I need to look ahead, like similarly to how I'm looking ahead by one to check for the star. I might need to look ahead 2 steps to see if there's a dot in front of the star. If that's the case, because basically I'm trying to come up with something fancy. P equals star dot is equivalent to just star, I believe. Let me think about it. Which much follows zero, so that means 0. Actually, it's not equivalent because star dot is saying one, at least one occurrence.
Well, star dot wouldn't be a legal pattern. Do you mean dot star?
Oh, yeah, dot star would be any 0 or more of any characters, but wait, star dot is not allowed.
Well, I'm not by itself. So
okay,
star refers to the one character before it. So here there's no character before it, so it's not well formed according to these rules. I mean, you do have a star dot here, but the star applies to the A rather than the dot.
Right, and then the dot applies to the A as well, right?
In this case, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to jog my memory. So if let's say a S equals empty string, P equals type equals star. What am I trying? This is true, but if S equals A, P equals A. I think the subtle, I'm trying to use an example to illustrate, but basically, I believe A star dot means I want one or more characters of A. So.
Well, not necessarily. So another string that would match is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because the dot would match the B, right?
Yeah. So it's saying I want a string that's, well, I'm trying to think of a better way to say this. I want a string that's 0 or more A's followed by one single character that can be any character.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, how do I blast? If I blast through the A's, then I still need to look for. So maybe I just need. I'm thinking, in the example of 102 now. After I break out of the for loop, I need another loop to traverse the remaining elements of P. So basically, for J less than its length, basically I iterate through the last dot. So I should have just wrote it. So for J less than P dot length. So basically just iterate through the rest of J. And at this point, my I is already out of bounds. So if so I equals P T. Let's say I encounter a dot. What do I do? Is there any? If it's a dot, it's automatically, as long as I'm just thinking out loud right now. Basically, if dot, the only input that is not valid is empty string, right?
Right.
So couldn't I just simply say, if a dot length is greater than 0, then we continue. But what if I have another dot?
Mm-hmm.
And that means that I'm expecting Now I'm starting to think maybe the whole thing where I'm just blasting through. Basically, I'm going through all of the A's, but I need to I have to check ahead of the star how many dots there are. So let's say there's 3 dots ahead of the star, then I only traverse so I go through. Let me just use pseudocode so you kind of follow my thought process. Basically,
Yeah, sure.
My thought process is check how many what's the word I'm looking, following the star, right? And let's say it's k dots, then I have to iterate. So let's say A happens. Let's say A happens X times. Basically, I want to traverse do I plus plus X minus K times. But the problem is precisely that I don't know how many X's there are. So maybe I have to just go in the entire A and then just backtrack the index of I. So something along the lines of, okay, it's the next. So I have one more idea, and I guess if that's totally off base, I would probably need a hint. But so
Sure.
my last idea is basically in my main for loop, I add another if statement. If the current character is a dot, then if my current character is a dot, I have to somehow subtract my progress. Oh, okay. If my previous character is a star, if my previous character is a star, then I want. So basically, if my previous star is star and current is dot, move I backwards until move I backwards. So then we get another chance to process the same character of S. Is that really off base? If that's the case, I guess I could use it.
Well, what about I want to give you another example, but Well, okay, so
Yeah, because if there's two
yeah.
dots, right? If there's two dots,
Uh,
and the previous character is also a dot, then
well, I'm on line 121, so
okay,
I'm writing out two examples here. So this first one should be true. This one should be false. So here, basically, I'm saying that it's not just if the next character is a dot. So here, the way you're thinking about it, at least you'd want to do some kind of backtracking, but in this case, you wouldn't because because you're not seeing a B in the string. So like here, backtracking won't result in a match because the character required at the end is not the same as the one that's in the star.
right, right. My previous.
We're pretty much out of time, but I'll just tell you that the way to handle this issue that we've identified is using recursion. So basically, you can say, like, okay, I'm going to make a recursive call um, matching. So let me back up a little. Um, so basically, what's going on in, let me go back to um, line 115. So basically, each time you look at a new character in S, you can make a choice. So you're at index 0 here, and you can either regard A star as matching 0 characters and go ahead and try to match A against dot, or you can consider A as matching A star, and you can say, okay, A matches with A star. Now I'm going to try to match A against the same piece. So it's very like to write it out. You can. Right. So there's sort of two choices here. You could say that A star matches the empty string and go ahead and try matching A against the character dot, which would fail. Or you can say, well, A matches A star, and I'm going to try to match the rest of the string A against A star. And then eventually you get to A, and you realize that uh, the first choice actually works. So basically, it's like each of these two options is a recursive call to your
Okay.
matching function, and you sort of try advancing into the pattern in a different way. So that kind of takes care of this ambiguity. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, uh, yeah, like I see where this is going. It basically, if you solve it recursively, so you each function call would branch two times,
Yeah, exactly.
and one branch we pass in empty string, and then the second branch we just pass in one character, and then the empty string in this case would evaluate to true. So as long as one of the branches evaluates to true, then we know. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, just reiterating what you just told me.
Yep.
I got a
And I
question.
gave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I know. I took probably went over time, but just very quickly, like yeah, like did you have any feedback for me? I'm very new to this interview.io platform. And yeah, any kind of like feedback, harsh feedback, just lay it on me, because that will be more helpful for me.
Yeah, I'll give you written feedback. I
Oh,
try to put most stuff there so you'll have it to you know for
oh,
reference.
there.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so I gave you the tip off about recursion at the end in case you want to try and solve it on your own time. Now that you know that, it's a fun problem. But I think you did a good job of communicating and sort of talking through your thought process. I think it is good to step through examples like you did. But I guess I feel like something about it could have maybe been a little faster. Just so I think if you had maybe gotten to realizing that this kind of backtracking was necessary, like with this example, if you'd realized that maybe 15 minutes earlier, maybe you would have been able to write some code that would handle that. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to say exactly what you should have done differently, but I guess I've told this to other people. Like once you notice your code kind of growing a lot of special cases, that's a good time to step back and say like, well, what's going on here? Can I do this more simply?
I see. That's kind of the hint.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you still had like 1 minute or two.
Yeah.
Just kind of follow up question. So I'm kind of like practicing interviews early stage, and I guess it's really hard for me to like some questions I either just know it or I just don't. I'm just drawing a blank. I know practice makes perfect, but at a certain level, I feel like it's just I can't imagine myself ever thinking about that solution after reading the solution. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just for you personally? Is it just like practice, going through the grind until your brain just muscle memory? Like for example, I'm really slow at as you probably know, it's very, very slow at going through code. Just like the indexes always trip me up, but I guess if you do it enough times, then you get faster.
Yeah, like practice is important, but also trying to think. I mean, with this problem, there's sort of an aha moment, which most people that I've given this question to don't have that on their own. Like I either give a hint because it's earlier on in the interview, and then they kind of get most of the rest of it, or they just don't get there. And I don't, out of the people that do have the aha moment and solve it, I don't know how many of them have seen it before. So, it's hard for me to say how much of success on this particular problem is due to having seen it before and how much of it is, measuring someone's problem solving skills, which is, ideally it would be a question that anybody with good problem solving skills can get. But I'm not really sure how to tell. But from your point of view, like I'd say, practice a lot, but also Mike, I have a couple questions that are all basically tests of do you think of recursion? And I think with a lot of people's experience and education, they may not think of recursion right away. So maybe as a more general tip, if you are getting confused, if you're writing something with nested loops and you're getting confused about indices and having a hard time following your own code, consider that to be a sign that maybe you could use recursion, because this problem actually gets a lot simpler once you do that. So sort of particularly practicing with recursion and sort of learning to recognize when a problem is calling out for recursion, I think that can help, because then you avoid writing a bunch of code that gets really hairy really fast.
Sounds good. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess what I noticed is once I set my mind into a particular way to do it. So very early on, I thought, oh, this is definitely an iterative thing. But then I'm already too far in to the iterative approach. It's hard for me to bounce back and think recursion is the way to go. I should really start from scratch.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, I think that's just lack of experience. Probably more experienced people would be more than comfortable to start from scratch. Versus for me, it's oh, there must be some tricky way to handle the indices. And plus, I'm really, really far into it, so it's a little risky for me to start from scratch. You know what I mean?
Right. And yeah, I think part of that does come from experience.
Right. I do need faster, that's for sure.
Yeah, but like like and this is not an accident. Like I think this is one of the things that interviews can legitimately measure, that you're able to like be flexible and not get stuck in one approach, and sort of watch yourself and say like, okay, well, this is getting complicated, so maybe I should be doing something else. And it is, very tempting to just kind of stick with what you're doing because it's kind of scary to just like throw away what progress you've made. But it can be necessary, and part of this is something I'm still figuring out how to do as an interviewer. Like, okay, when do I suggest to somebody like, hey, maybe you should uh, take a step back and turn it around? But I would also say, like, whenever you find yourself like trying to do something clever or looking for a trick, like, step back, because like I think good interviewers like don't give questions where a whole lot of cleverness is required. If like there's a difference between like clever code and like understanding a difficult problem. And in my questions, I try to come up with problems that require thinking, but that if you sort of think systematically, you'll get it, and the code will not be cryptic. And I try not to ask questions where you need to do something really um, convoluted, because
Right.
if you're writing code in a real situation, like clever code is hard to maintain.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
in
if you
interview
yeah
settings, right?
yeah. So if you find yourself trying to be clever, basically like ask yourself like, okay, maybe rather than like trying to make something more clever, maybe there's another approach to this that results in a more straightforward solution in the end.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, like obviously I don't want to take too much of your time, so thank you very much.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day.
Yeah, you too.
Cool.
So,
Bye.
yeah. Oh, the awkward moment where you don't know when to say bye. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Bye.